On Tech News Today, you want to sell your patent to Google? They're going to have tryouts. Make it fast. You'll only have 2 weeks. Plus, the Indian government deliberately publishes the personal information of more than 1 million people, and CNN loses one of its top political reporters to Snapchat. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, April 27th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. With one simple integration, you can offer your customers every way to pay, period. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/TNT. And by Shutterstock.com. With over 52 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code TNT415. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. My name is Mike Elgan, and our co-anchor today is CNET Editor-in-Chief Lindsey Turrentine. How the heck are you, Lindsey?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm happy to be back from a very wet camping trip.
Yes, well, you know, it happens. And actually, raining doesn't happen very often in this part of the world. Where were you camping?
I was in the Sierra foothills for a big annual event that some friends throw. And we just, you know, the joke is sort of, if we want it to rain, my family's going to go camping.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, there was a big, I guess the city's biggest like festival in Petaluma happened, and it kind of sprinkled a little bit this weekend, which was like, wow, what are the chances? It's like rained like a ½ an inch in the last like 5 years or something around here. It's so dry. And then it rains right at the wrong time. Well, the big news coming up this day, we don't have the news today yet, but the Apple earnings report is going to hit later on today, and it's probably going to be another eye-opening, mind-blowing explosion of this company into the stratosphere. They're expected to report something like 58 million iPhones for the quarter, which is, of course, down from the fourth quarter, the holiday season, but way up, 33% up over last year. Again, this is an expectation. They're expecting strong revenue and profits. Possibly, they may report that iPhone sales in China for the first time ever were higher than they were in the U.S., just a possibility there. And they probably won't have Apple Watch numbers. Lindsey Turrentine, what are you expecting from Apple? Do you think this is going to disappoint or surprise, or is it going to be what people expect?
I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be big like people expect. Although I read a really interesting opinion piece in the New York Times over the weekend about how Apple is now twice as large as its next competitor on the S&P 500. And the last time that happened was during the Reagan administration, with IBM in the mid-'80s. And so I feel like this is going to be really huge. But there's some thinking out there that it might be the pinnacle, that this is as big as it's going to get. So I think it'll be an interesting time to keep an eye on what Apple's doing. Yeah,
I have heard those predictions as well. I don't believe it. I think the pinnacle is coming for sure, but I don't think they've tapped out China yet, not even by a long shot. And of course, the Apple Watch is coming around. That's not going to do huge things for Apple's revenue, but it could do a lot for their profitability. I have the feeling that Apple Watches are extremely profitable, and of course, the Apple Watch Edition is incredibly profitable. They're going to be making thousands of dollars of profit on each and every watch. So, but again, they're not going to sell a lot. So that's going to affect them in some way or another. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway,
it's interesting.
We'll be looking for that news today. Well, Google today announced a new initiative called the Patent Purchase Promotion. The company's giving patent owners 2 weeks in the month of May to try and sell their patents to Google. The idea is to quickly monetize patents that Google could actually use so that small patent holders don't turn to patent troll companies for that monetization, forcing Google to later face them in the courts. Google promised to inform patent owners whether they'll buy their patents by June 26th. This is a kind of unusual sort of initiative, Lindsey Turrentine. I've never quite heard anything like this.
It's very googly to just say, you know what, hey, we're trying this. And what I find is really interesting about this, project is the way that Google explains what it is. There's a little letter on the Google website posted by their Deputy General Counsel for Patents. And he essentially, Alan Lowe, essentially says, this is kind of like Google 20% time for lawyers. This is an experiment. We're kind of having fun with it. We just want to see what happens, which is, it's really classic in that way, but very, very interesting. And I think that if I had a small patent that I didn't know what to do with, and I wasn't really planning on doing anything with it anyway, give it a try. You may make some money that you wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. It is funny that they do that. And they say that everything is an experiment. And I wonder how much of that is actually true and how much of it is just cover so that if something fails, they can later say, it's just an experiment. I mean, Gmail was in beta for 5 years. Like they weren't really sure that was going to, it's all just spin to a certain extent. They are actually doing this. It's a real program. And calling it an experiment, I guess, does give them cover. But again, maybe it's the fact that they can call it an experiment that sort of encourages them to go out and actually do it. A lot of companies might go, this is kind of weird and risky and strange, and let's not do it. So
yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's great to say, look, we're going to try something and it might not work.
Yeah.
That last part, it might not work, is what a lot of companies are unwilling to say.
Yeah.
So I'll be really interested to see what happens, and I hope we get to hear more about it.
So do I. Well, we're going to get back to some news in just a second, but first, let's talk about Braintree. If you're a mobile web developer, you really have to know about Braintree. This is a fantastic full-stack payments platform that makes it super easy for you to accept payments in your app or even on your website. And again, this has been used by Uber, Airbnb, Hotel Tonight, Living Social, and Munchery. If you've used any of those services, you know how easy it is to send payments to them because they are using Braintree. It enables you to accept Apple Pay, PayPal, most credit cards and debit cards, including Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, JCB, and even Diners Club. Super, super easy. They have sophisticated fraud protection, too, for merchants of every size, and this comes at no additional cost. And, of course, they have excellent customer service and very simple integration. Braintree gives you full-stack payment solutions, support for all payments types for your customers might want. Start accepting PayPal, Apple Pay, Bitcoin, Venmo, cards, and more, all with a simple integration. And this works across all platforms. With superior fraud protection, customer service, and fast payouts. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to braintreepayments.com/TNT. All right, well, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India revealed the email addresses of more than 1 million Indian citizens who had written to express their opinions on net neutrality. Wow. Pranav Dixit is an independent technology journalist who writes for Wired, Fast Company, and other publications, and who wrote about this story for the Hindustan Times. Welcome to you, Pranav.
Hey, Mike.
Now, you're joining us from New Delhi. It's 10:30 at night there, and I really appreciate you staying up late to come on this show today. So thank you so much for that. Now, why did they release these email addresses?
Well, let's take a step back and look at what really happened. So net neutrality has been a really hot topic in India for the last couple of months. And the TRAI, which is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, had invited responses from Indian citizens about net neutrality. And they ended up getting over 1 million emails in just a few weeks, which was incredible. And the idea was always that the TRAI was going to publish people's responses up on its official website to have an open debate about net neutrality in India. What they ended up doing, however, was they not only published people's responses, they also published their email addresses in clear text. It's an absolute privacy nightmare right now, and people are outraged, but they haven't taken them down. You can still go on the TRAI website and, those 1 million+ email addresses are yours for the taking.
So it's email addresses, anything else that's very sensitive, names and email addresses, which seems pretty egregious right off the bat. Anything else that people should be worried about protecting if they've written in to the government about net neutrality in India?
Well, the responses were meant to be public, but no one had any idea that the email addresses were also going to go up on the website. And there is a school of thought. A lot of people on Twitter are saying that this is how the TRAI does things. If you were, it was an open consultation, and if you were going to write into them, you would have been nuts to expect any privacy. But a lot of regular people did not have any idea that writing into the TRAI to express their opinion about net neutrality was going to mean that their email address was just going to be up on the website. That's just crazy.
What has the public response been in India?
There's been a lot of outrage, especially on Twitter. The story broke in the morning, and everyone's going pretty crazy about it right now because, like I said, people didn't expect this to happen. The idea was the submissions would be public, but not the email addresses.
Is this illegal? Are there any restrictions around the release of public data in India? What are the laws surrounding this
Right,
issue?
so that's what makes this tricky because we have no online privacy laws that would protect Indian citizens against something like this. So technically, the TRAI didn't really break any rules or any laws. So it's a pretty gray zone, I would say. There are no laws. There are no laws that would that should prevent something like this from happening.
Wow, this is quite a deal. And for those million-plus Indian citizens who have had their email exposed, they can expect to be hearing from a Nigerian prince any minute now.
Oh,
it's going to be an absolute spam nightmare.
Yeah, and the TRAI. So one interesting thing that happened was a group that claims to be anonymous allegedly hacked the TRAI website today in response to the TRAI making these email addresses public. We don't know if it's really anonymous. There's a Twitter account called Anon Ops India. They claim that they're anonymous. And the TRAI website was down for a couple of hours. Now, we reached out to the TRAI for a statement about this, and they claimed that this was a technical glitch. They were not hacked, but that's what the rumors are, that they were hacked as revenge for putting all these email addresses out, which could be a plausible theory, or it could be a pretty wild theory, depending on who you choose to believe.
Wow, what a story. Pranav Dixit is at pranavdixit.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at PRANAVDIXIT. Thank you so much for joining us today, Pranav.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Let us know what you think of this story by sending email to tnt@twit.tv. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles this weekend updated its health record system to support Apple HealthKit-generated data. The change theoretically affects 80,000 patients. The hospital doesn't have real plans or programs to use the data, but it will offer it to doctors who want to see patient data collected by HealthKit, which, of course, itself collects data from the Apple Watch and other fitness tracking devices. I think this is a really great idea, Lindsey Turrentine. Of course, putting any real sort of formal proposal in motion for a hospital like this, a big series of hospitals, actually. Cedars-Sinai is enormous in Los Angeles, and around health data and the collection of data, which requires all kinds of testing and regulatory approvals, is a big time-consuming task. So instead of doing that, they just said, you know what, we're just going to collect the data, throw it in the system. If you're a doctor and you want to see this data or tell the patient to, to collect it or whatever, you can just do that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and I think that what I'm hoping is that this kind of policy change for hospitals will get more health compatible programs going. I mean, right now, I don't know if you've ever logged into HealthKit, but when you log into the sort of the health app on your watch, I mean on your phone, there's not a lot there unless you spend kind of a lot of time setting it up, and whether or not it works very well really depends on whether or not you've got your health apps set up to give data to HealthKit, whether or not the devices that you use and wear are really hooked up properly. I think that the more doctors start to become interested in this data and talk to their patients about it, the more those programs will develop, and that technology will actually get better.
Yeah, and a lot of this is just the kind of thing that doctors normally are involved with. For example, a doctor, may typically ask somebody about their diet, and the person may say, "Oh yeah, I have a great diet." And so, "Well, do you eat ring dings every day?" "Oh yeah, I eat ring dings, but other than that, I have a great," So these kind of conversations happen every day in doctors' offices. So now HealthKit actually makes it possible for the doctor to say, "You know what? You got an iPhone. I want you to log your diet in the iPhone." Or, somebody else, may ask, "How much exercise do you get?" "Oh, I'm walking all the time." "Okay, well, how much is that?" "Well, I walk back and forth all the time in my house." Something like that. So you can actually find out how much somebody's moving with HealthKit. So it's kind of a way to sort of informally and sort of unofficially get the patient to provide better information for a doctor. It's far from perfect information, of course, but better than just a person just giving you their delusional accounting of whatever it is that the doctor's asking about. So pretty interesting. Clearly, this world of quantified self trackers is going to be integrated into the health system in a big way, and it's nice to see a big hospital like Cedars-Sinai jumping into it in this sort of informal way.
Mike, are you suggesting that when I climb the stairs in my house, it is not enough?
I am not. Stairs are fantastic. Stairs are fantastic, especially since I know that you live on the 12th floor of your 12-story house. 24
flights every day.
Exactly. Well, in Hack Attack news, hackers in Russia reportedly grabbed some of President Obama's personal emails when they hacked the White House last year, according to the New York Times. I wonder how many of those were to Hillary Clinton's personal email account. Secret and classified information was not accessed, according to the report, and the Russian government, of course, is the prime suspect in this breach.
Yeah, what I thought was really interesting about this piece in the Times was this, it was way down in the piece, but sort of saying the concern with the Russian hackers compared to, I guess, to Chinese hackers. We hear about Chinese hacks all the time. They're pervasive. They happen a lot. But that Russian, I'm going to read this because I just think it's really interesting. The best Russian hackers tend to hide their tracks better and focus on specific, often political targets. In other words, Russians have gotten very good at these very nuanced, we're going to go try to find the president's email attacks, and it's concerning.
Yeah, it is. And I think to a very large extent, a lot of the hacking for the Russian government is done at the behest of Vladimir Putin personally, so that he can have more power and influence within the government. He controls the purse strings in that country, whereas in China, it tends to be aimed at benefiting the Chinese economy and military generally, not any individual person. So so there's a slight difference there, and you can see how I don't know if you watch House of Cards, but they had a lightly fictionalized character who is like Vladimir Putin, and I think they did a great job capturing the degree to which Putin has become something of a dictator within Russia, and just basically runs the whole show.
Yeah, the fake Putin character is priceless and probably worth watching this season just for him.
Yeah, I love it when he puts his cigar out on the White House.
Yeah.
What a guy. All right, well, in courtroom drama news, Apple won an appeal in China over patent rights to Siri. The Beijing Higher People's Court overturned an earlier case that ruled in favor of a company called Zhizhen Network Technology, which claimed Siri infringed on their patents. That's kind of surprising, actually, that a court sided with Apple against a Chinese company over something as nebulous as a patent over, voice recognition. But there it is. Apple won the case.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out this afternoon how big Apple is in China right now. I suspect that Apple is a legitimately large part of the Chinese economy. And this may signal China becoming a little bit more open to the idea of working collaboratively because it's going to be meaningful from a taxation and revenue standpoint.
Yeah, and Apple has really bent over backwards, as we report multiple times on this show, with every demand and every criticism that the Chinese government has thrown at them. They basically just say, okay, whatever you want. And so I think they are seen as a relatively favorable American company compared to the companies that resist Chinese activities like Google did. Well, in human resources news, Facebook engineering director Lars Rasmussen, who headed the creation of Facebook's graph search and also Facebook at Work, is leaving the company to co-found a music startup. Why anybody would want to co-found a music startup, I have no idea.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. At this point, there's so much out there. It's pretty sophisticated. We're seeing new entrants to the market really struggle. It's going to have to be a pretty mind-blowing music startup to break in.
Yeah, and if Jay-Z can't do it with Tidal with a lot of ease,
exactly.
How is this person going to do it, especially this late in the game? Well, in other human resources department news, CNN political reporter Peter Hambly has left the network to work, wait for it, at Snapchat as head of news. This is incredible. He's one of CNN's best and strongest political reporters, Lindsey Turrentine, and yet he's moving to Snapchat.
I think it's really cool. I mean, think about it. For him, he's moving from a reporter job, which is fulfilling but extraordinarily difficult, to a job in which he gets to have say over what happens, across many brands within this new, very exciting, very well-funded startup. I think it sounds like a great move for him.
I do too, and they're going to have to be using his you know, his brain more than his name recognition, because, you know, the CNN and Snapchat have very different audiences. You know, older people tend to watch cable news on TV, and Snapchat users tend to be very, very young. So my guess is the vast majority of Snapchat users have never heard his name and have no idea who he is.
Oh yeah, they don't care. This is all about his connections and all about what he knows about broadcast.
I did a search for his name just to see if I could find some B-roll for the show that we could use, and it turns out that he did a big report, I think earlier in the year, about Snapchat, and that may have been when he made some contacts there when he was doing a CNN report on Snapchat. Anyway,
Sure.
kind of interesting. Well, we got some more news for you coming up in just a second. But first, let's talk about Shutterstock and how to make your website amazing with killer photography. I use Shutterstock all the time. I do a lot of blogging. I love blogging, and I know, as any good blogger does, that blogs have to be visual these days, or they're just not going to gather attention, and they're not going to be appealing to people who are really, really used to visual images on blogs and websites and so on. If you have any sort of website, a publication, an ad, if you are creating a video, whatever you're doing. Leo was telling me that House of Cards, we were just talking about House of Cards, a lot of their sort of shots of Washington, D.C., those dramatic shots, you know, aerial photographs of the Capitol building and all that kind of stuff, they just buy them on Shutterstock. You know, they don't, you know, hire a helicopter pilot and rent a helicopter and go fly over D.C. and try to get the permission. No, they just go to Shutterstock and download it. And you can do the exact same thing that House of Cards does, just download videos that you may need. And, of course, they have really, really high-quality professional photographers and artists, and they add 300, this is a mind-blowing number, they add 385,000 new images every single week. And so as you use it over time, you're always seeing new pictures and images, and of course they're easy to find because Shutterstock search is really, really great. They even have multilingual customer service in more than a dozen countries, and they have full-time customer support throughout the week. So you've got to check out Shutterstock. No credit card is needed for you to try it. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock and to help imagine what your next project could be like. And save favorite images to a lightbox that you can look at later. Once you decide to purchase, use offer code TNT415, and new accounts will get 20% off image subscription packages. That's Shutterstock.com, and for 20% off on new accounts, use offer code TNT415, and we thank Shutterstock for their support of Tech News Today. Well, in news you can lose, CNET's Scott Stein, I'm sure you know about this story, Lindsey Turrentine. CNET's Scott Stein and Dan Ackerman were periscoping a demo of some Apple Watch apps over the weekend, and during that stream, Scott decided to show the Amazon app's one-tap buying feature. Here's what happened.
Xbox One.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Got Xbox One, Assassin's Creed Unity bundle, and now...
Oh, someone's asking, does it speak Spanish?
I could buy it now with one click. I could be very, very careful. I'm just going to add it to my wish list. Not hit...
Don't click the...
No! No!
Oh, man.
No! No! I don't... Wait, how do I cancel that?
I'm sure he'll enjoy his new Xbox.
This was a great moment.
Right.
Are you gonna prove that when he expenses it, Lindsey?
I think that he can probably find a way to return it. It was hilarious because, you know, obviously that was just an honest mistake, but it was such an interesting experience that we decided to try to figure out how to throw this Periscope video up onto the site and onto YouTube, and we did. And one of the hilarious unintended consequences of this is that it's taken off. Everybody is talking about it, but if you read the YouTube comments, there are so many comments from people going, why aren't they filming in landscape mode? Don't they know anything?
Yeah.
It's really funny.
The thing that struck me about that is that from what I could see, his tap was a good tap. He didn't tap the big yellow button. He tapped underneath the button very, pretty far away from the yellow button, and still it registered one tap purchase. So that's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, you can imagine just bumping your watch into something and buying things. I actually once accidentally upgraded to the pay version of Pandora. I I basically, it always, when you run out, when you thumbs down or you go to the next song, if you do that enough times, it'll say, okay, you can't do anymore because of our licensing or whatever. But sometimes it throws up a thing saying tap here to upgrade. And so I just was, reflexively tapping it, and I upgraded. And I'm like, okay, so now I had to go through Apple to get a refund and all that kind of stuff. So, you thought the Apple Watch was expensive when you bought it. Wait till that Xbox shows up in the mail.
At least it was a good bundle.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, if you're going to buy one, buy the Assassin's Creed bundle. That's my advice.
Truth is, if I had done that, I'd been, oh, well, what are you going to do?
I guess I have it now.
Yep. I can tell my wife, that was an accident. What are you going to do? Well, Tom Schultz wrote us an email about our coverage of the LA school district's many troubles with their iPad program. They spent a huge amount of money on iPads, and they just struggle with it in multiple ways. And here's what Tom Schultz had to say about our coverage. Recently, you're reporting on the problems in LA. Our district in Solano County doesn't have the problems because we don't have the money to get into so much trouble. Unfortunately, the teachers have little input when it comes to tech specs. We always have the problem of new tech without training. We've got thin client labs that weren't reliable and didn't run all the programs we wanted to use. Then testing began, and we couldn't use thin clients. We put in some laptops to take the test, and we tried Chromebooks, and they only worked part of the time. Now, he's referring to my recommendation that schools should be using Chromebooks instead of full-fledged PCs, and he's disagreeing with that in this letter, essentially. He said, we went back to the desktop machines, and they are the best solutions by far. iPads worked okay, and they are durable and flexible and able to handle most situations. We found another advantage for desktop machines. If you're eating dinner, please pause the... When a student throws up, just replace the keyboard, not the whole device. Well,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Both my kids in different school districts use Chromebooks at school, and it's been a mixed experiment, but definitely like relying on Google infrastructure for sharing content has been a boon for the districts. And I think that's what makes Chromebooks attractive because it's just it's an easy sell if they're already using Google for everything else. Google Drive.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate my recommendation for Chromebooks, in general, it's about the fact that most school districts, just like this Solano County School District, don't have a ton of money for training or support when they're hacked or when there's malware, And so Chromebooks are far less likely or, may never get some certain types of malware because they're cloud devices that are very heavily locked down. The other problem is that if you get to a high school type of situation, I guarantee you there are going to be lots of students who are much more technical than many of the people who may be responsible for the networks at that school. And they're going to be hacking and changing the grades or whatever. And so, Chromebooks could help in that regard as well. But again, we have some disagreement from somebody with firsthand experience. So we will take that under advisement for future recommendations. Well, what do you think about educational computers and what is best, especially if you're in education? Send email to tnt@twit.tv. We want to hear your point of view. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Chris Massidis in Cologne, Germany, who posted these screenshots on Google+. He said he was recently watching Tech News Today while at the same time preparing a page on Circle Count. Circle Count is the service that he runs that keeps track of all kinds of metrics on Google+. So he was watching Tech News Today while preparing a page on Circle Count showing all the How I Watch TNT posts on Google+. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, very meta. All right, well, how do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. You can also, of course, do screenshots if that makes sense. Lindsey Turrentine, what are you working on this week, and where can people read all about it?
Well, this is fun. Tomorrow morning, LG is having its press conference to announce it's the LG G4, which is its next hero phone, curved screen. We are the only people streaming that. So if you want to see a live stream of that event, come to CNET. CNET.com.
Try not to order another Xbox. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Maybe we want them.
Maybe you want them. You can also find Lindsey at Turrentine on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us, Lindsey. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. You can subscribe to Tech News Today via RSS, good old-fashioned RSS, or many other options, which you can find at twit.tv/TNT. If you'd like to help us grow our audience, here's how you can do it. Just post a link to twit.tv/TNT, and that's where the subscription is, on the social media site of your choice, and tag 3 friends you think might like Tech News Today with your recommendation to subscribe. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or in the app or browser plugin of your choice, which you can find at twit.tv/apps. If you're ever in town here in Petaluma, come on in and watch us as part of our studio audience. Send email to tickets@twit.tv more than 24 hours before you'd like to come. And you can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and you can follow me on Present, a new video social app. Just go to presentapp.co/Mike Elgan to find my profile. Also, don't miss Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. This show was produced by Jason Cleanthes and edited by Anthony Nielsen. My name is Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow.